Hello, this is Mitch King with Trade Stocks America with the Wednesday evening, October 21st, 2009 daily stock report. Here's the Dow 30, was up about 60 points for most of the day and then just sold off as soon as we got a Wells Fargo downgrade from an analyst. That brought down a full sell program on most stocks. The index dropped about 1% today. Let's take a look at a few other stocks to show you what I'm talking about on the intraday charts. Here's the Dow Jones, was moving up as high as 10,119, which was up about 70, 80 points, and just floated along just gradually. And then there's the downgrade right there, and we closed at the low of the session. Let's take a look at a few other stocks. Let's start with Wells Fargo, and you can see again there's where a downgrade and the full sell programs went in. The market had a swing of 175 points on the Dow Jones, or about a 1.8% swing with the S&P 500. There's IBM, for example, which is a tech stock not related to Wells Fargo. Here's MasterCard. So everything's sold off today. Here's an oil stock, ATPG. And we should see some sort of a follow through on the sell side tomorrow. I'm thinking at the opening. Let's take a look at a few other stocks. Here's Pepsi starting to move back up after that 2 or 3 down days. Goldman Sachs triggered off a 5% trailing stop loss from the high of 193.60 on October 14th. And you can see this price right here on the upper left-hand corner, and that was on October 14th, just last week. So it's an autopilot thing. You can have a percent trailing stop loss triggers from the high water mark of a particular stock, in this case 193.60, and then 5% less that it'll just automatically sell, which was somewhere around in here. So if you do a 5 or a 7, I don't usually do a 10%, and the general rule is you want the potential to be at least 3 times of what stop loss you're willing to take. So if you're willing to take a $5 loss, for example, on a stock like this, then it should have the potential to make at least $15 profit. And that's kind of a combination of science and art to try to guess what the profit potential is of a stock. Here's Google, still holding up really well, acting very strong in a down day. And MasterCard was acting very strong as well. Here's the intraday chart for MasterCard here. FCX, which is Freeport-McMoRan, excellent looking chart, real steady uptrend, no change there. Here's JP Morgan, also triggered a 5% trailing stop loss today at just over $45, and it followed the same program trading as Wells Fargo. Now, a lot of times you're going to get whiplash by these kind of moves like that, but the general rule is those stop loss, those trailing stop losses really work for you over the long run. Sure, we take these hits of 3 or 4% losses on those 2 stocks today and 1 or 2% on another, but that's just part of the game. You're going to have some losses, and if you get 2/3 to 3/4 of winners on these swing trades, you're going to make a lot of money. The scalping stocks for intraday trades should be a higher winning percentage with a lower percentage profit for each trade. But try to get in your mind that your expectations should not be for perfection or an extremely high winning rate. And any one loss or profit really shouldn't be a very emotional experience for you. It's just part of the game. It's like playing golf. The top guys in the world are getting in the fairway 78 to 81% in the fairway, and that's a real high win rate or greens in regulation, for example. So you just want to be real steady, even-keeled, not get too upset, not get too happy. You're just going through the procedures and through this process, and you're going to come out doing very well. Here's CMI. Cummins, still been doing good. Here's CTXS. Real gradual downtrend. Hasn't sold off too radically. Here's NVAX starting to move up. And here's EBIX, which is a possible short position to consider. It's a little early yet on this, but we're starting to see the indicators turning over. And NUVA took a big hit today, down 8.5%. And that's the beauty of these stop losses. You don't even have to be paying attention, and it'll just trigger off, which this did trigger off just under $42 on that. And that's pretty much, that's an automatic system that you set with your broker, that if you have a trailing stop loss, here's your high of 44, for example, 5% under that should be that number, and the system on your brokerage firm automatically calculates that and just puts a market order to sell. So the nice thing is, as we bought somewhere down in here, and then it went up $4, 10%, it automatically knows the high water mark, and then that trailing stop loss, really get to know that, because really get to learn how to use that, because that will save your bacon a lot. OPTT is the bull short, still correcting down. Looks like we got a little carryover through tomorrow. Might even break below $7 the way it's acting. And I would take that first bottom tomorrow to cover your short position. And what I mean by that bottom is you're looking at the intraday charts. And here's OPTT. If it just drops and drops and then it starts curving up, that's what you want to do. Let's say it comes down here like this and curves up right there. That's where you want to be covering your short position. That's that first bottom I talk about occasionally. And that's the first bottom of each day. In this case, this was a little opportunity to open a short position. I've been talking about this for at least 3 or 4 days, this particular stock. And I think this is our second round or second helping of a short position. So big move today from $8.30 to about $7.28 at the close. CRE was a real big jump today of 11.5% in a down market. This stock's going up this next few days because the market was down, and we have another carry through tomorrow. This CRE probably moves up, and then when the market turns up, it'll really help support those stocks that were moving. I wanted to talk about this lava. I'm always nervous with these low-price stocks. I usually categorize them as aggressive for aggressive investors. It had a little pop today, but make sure you got a stop loss on this one, because these can really fall apart and hurt you. I'd say it's somewhere around a 7 or 8% stop loss, whatever you're feeling comfortable with, you're willing to lose. I mean, you can do it 10% and you're going to be, it's 25 cents. So I'm personally more comfortable around $2.40 on this one, $2.35. AAI, another one, stop loss triggered today. And if you didn't have a stop, it would have erased all your profits, because this one was purchased around $5 and now it's into a loss. And if you build a lot of long positions or any number of positions, you can't manage all of them manually. In the case of the stock table, if you happen to have 20 stocks, you can't catch them all when the market's falling like it did today in that last 40 minutes. So really learn how to use that trailing stop loss right after you open a position, and on bull shorts have a much wider swing than regular stocks, so you have a wider stop loss on that. Here's Lennar. It's a short position. Be really interesting to see if this thing drops lower than this October. Here's Lennar. It's a short position. It'll be really interesting to see if this thing drops below this price right in here in that first week of October, because if it does, it's probably going to be really dropping further. It's hard to tell whether we get that. We've got a ways to get there. It's 13.68 that closed today, and that's another point down below that. Here's USEG, was up today, up $7. Then that sell signal, that program selling started triggering off, and this went down and closed at $6. It looks like it'll get a little more selling tomorrow. And here's USEG, was pretty bullish most of the day and then just went straight down at about 3 o'clock Eastern. And here's the Acor short. I have a little question about this one, even though it's just open. It did not go down much and the market was down. So I have a little question about Acor because it was not down with the market. And I'm thinking we might want to close this one. It's just going to be a little bit of a false run. So you guys take care. You know the rules. Put the odds in your favor. Don't get leveraged. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night.